podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw on Anfield Index Pro, podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and joining me, apart from my doggy pal here, to give their reactions to Liverpool 2, Brighton 1 in the Premier League from Anfield are Dave Hendrick and Karl Matchett. Dave, I just feel this is going to be a shortish Raw because every one of these things now feels like a means to an end, a stepping stone towards something that we want at the end of it. Yeah, small steps towards something bigger. I am enjoying the fact that normally it's me having to apologise for the noise of insane dogs, and today it's just you. So that's nice for me. Look, we made far harder work of that than it needed to be. Obviously, they get the fast start, but we had more than enough chances to score 5 or 6 goals in that game. Salah was incredibly wasteful and shot at least twice when he had simple passes to give teammates tap-ins. I think credit to Verbruggen, he made one absolutely incredible save from Mo. We had the goal disallowed, which I'm still not certain was offside. But the win is the win, and that's all that really matters. And we go back top of the league, despite the fact that Brighton are a team of Anthony Gordons, and by that I mean diving, cheating bastards. And David Coote is absolutely a copper, and absolutely a copper's cop, which means he's internal affairs, the rat squad. He's the type of fella whose mother still wipes his arse with baby wipes, despite him being in his mid-30s.
Yeah, I think we could just do about 30 minutes on David Coote, and I'd be quite happy with that. But Karl, it's weird, isn't it? Because obviously our show here is about analysis. It's about picking apart the match, and we will, of course, do that in case people think I've gone mental altogether. But it just does feel very much like one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's only so much we can say about this or anything else once it gets us the next step on that ladder that we're trying to climb. It felt today as if it was a very, very, very well-deserved win, I thought, Karl. I'm sure the stats will back it up. My distraction with dog sitting has stopped me from doing my usual immediate post-match homework. But I'm imagining we have cracked up a lot of shots there today, a lot of attempts. And we did seem to have a huge amount of the ball, despite Sky and their desperate narrative to try to make Brighton sound far more exciting than they were. It felt to me like a well-earned win.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, like, there was a late flurry from them, obviously, where the game got a bit ragged and so on. But I had a look at 80 minutes. They'd had 5 shots all game. And when you consider that there was, shall we say, a fast start from them, that's pretty one-sided, to be honest. We were approaching 30 shots at that point. So just from that alone, from the flow of the game that we were watching, obviously, I kind of agree in what you say. Like, each game now, there's an overriding point. Either it's good or it's bad. Simple as that. And that's going to be dictated by the result. And I know we go through the game and everything else, but even from very, very early on, this match felt like Liverpool are playing well, and either we'll take our chances or we won't. And that will define whether it's a good game or not, a win or not, and if we're all in a good mood or not. It was just that very much straightforward, which did lead me to, for most of the first half, have a very, very difficult internal battle as to who was more annoying, the commentator or the referee.
Yes, exactly. That's the only distraction, really, because you're right. The clarity of purpose is beyond question. It is a matter of us harnessing some good form and putting it out there on the pitch. And it's that feeling that I've had since I've started doing the podcasts with Jan Mulby. For the vast majority of it, we have this chat at the end where I ask him for predictions and always ends up the same thing. For the vast majority, with the exception of maybe a bad half season, it just always feels as if if the Reds show up and the Reds do their thing. It doesn't really matter who the opposition is. It should be enough. And hopefully it will be for 9 more occasions. And hopefully that will be enough to see us over the line. We should just have a little nod to the usual structure here. And the Liverpool team was, I think, probably as strong as it could go, given the availability. There was one issue, Karl, and I'll just stay with you on this, around Konate, and a lot of annoyance about how he played for France, and yet when we have this massive league game, he's not available for it. I think perhaps people may be misunderstanding how important the next few games will be as well, and minute management and all the rest of it. But I do see the point of the annoyance of fans when they see Konate playing 90 for France, and then, you know, when we could really do with him being one of our best 4 defenders, he's not there in the first team today.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's annoying, but it's only annoying because it happened to be for the France game. You know, if he'd have felt a little bit of something, like Klopp said, from a training session, it's the same outcome, isn't it? You're still going to not risk him in this game when we've got Thursday to play, weekend to play Thursday, and so on and so forth. So these things are just going to happen, you know, simple as that. We've got a Euros at the end of the season and players want to be involved in it. So you can't sort of take anything out of the fact that he got injured playing for France and just ignore the fact that we've had about 6,000 injuries playing for us. That's just a bit of an irrelevance as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comment. And listen, just before we proceed with the normal goings on in the show, can I, on behalf of everybody here at Raw, ask you, if you are a listener, to consider becoming a member of AI Pro by joining up and having the access that entails. Most of you are listening to the first half hour for free, and then an awful lot of you lovely people are paying for the extended version, the full version of the podcast, which I think is very, very much worth having, ad-free as well. It seems to me as if, as I look around the landscape, there are an awful lot of people doing an awful lot of stuff in fan media. There is nothing better in terms of the content and the quality of it and the amount of it. Some 75 podcasts a month, unless I'm mistaken, are available on Anfield Index. Now, you put all of that together and it represents very much value for what I think is a considerably small amount of money in the greater scheme of things. Obviously, it's not for everyone. If it is for you, please consider it. Please join up, become one of the cool kids, and make us far more solid on our feet, because the only reason we're asking is it's not easy to do this stuff, and you can provide it for free. There are a tremendous amount of costs. There are people who need to be looked after. And if you would like the full experience of Anfield Index Pro, which means all of those shows in full without ads, then I think you can go to AnfieldIndexPro.com and sign up for, like I say, a decent amount of money. You sign up annually. I think it's only around €40 for the year. About less than a cup of coffee a month is what this is costing, and that's probably being modest about it, because the last cup of coffee I got was about €6. So if you can, please do consider joining up, and like I say, join all the cool cats on Anfield Index Pro as a full member. Just have a quick look at Brighton with you, Dave. I know you and Karl looked ahead to this game, and it was always interesting to hear your discussions around the opposition. And of course, there's the added sort of, I guess, factor of many people looking at their oddly bearded manager as a comparatively strong candidate for the replacing of Jurgen Klopp. What did you think about them? I mean, you do have to hand it to them. You decimate that midfield that they had, and you see what they've done to sort of mitigate that. There's a lot of good footballers across the pitch for them, and even their keeper today, very solid citizen, pulled off a few fantastic stops. They went, just for the record, Veltman, Dunk, Van Hecke and Lamptey, Baliba, Gross, Stupinian, Adingra, Moder and Welbeck. What do you make of them and their bench today, which featured Lallana and Barco coming from it, alongside Buonanotte, and I think there was one other who Evan Ferguson came on as well. So, I mean, what do you make of them, and it maybe just with a little bit of a bias towards the manager and what he's doing?
I think he's getting a very harsh assessment by a lot of Liverpool fans. They finished 6th last season, which is by far the best season they've ever had as a club. and he loses McAllister, who, as we have all come to know, is an incredible footballer. He lost Caicedo, who was brilliant for him, and he lost Levi Colwill, who was really important defensively, probably their best centre-back last season. They lose the three of those, and this season they've been decimated by injuries. I mean, you look through their important players. Estupinan has missed a ton of games. Matoma's missed a ton of games. Veltman's missed games. What's the midfield player's name? The little Scottish fella. Billy Gilmore has missed some games and was missing today. João Pedro's been a revelation for them since coming in from Watford. He's missed games and was absent today. And Enciso has missed most of the season. Like, he's dealt with an injury crisis there. Now, he has been the master of his own demise in some ways. The constant rotation of the goalkeeper hasn't helped. Jason Steele is not a Premier League caliber goalkeeper and has never been a Premier League caliber goalkeeper. And we saw today that Verbruggen is very, very promising. If he'd been playing him all season, I think they'd be far better off. He's also had to deal with the decline of Lewis Dunk, who hasn't had a good year. So all in all, I mean, like, they're a top half team. They topped their group in the Europa League. This is one of the two best seasons they've ever had as a club. And last year under him was the other one. He's done a great job there. Regardless of what people want to say, it's Brighton and Hove Albion that he's managing. Like, people need to remember that they're a club that historically were a lower league club, came up into the top flight and were finishing 15th, 16th, 17th every year. Graham Potter had one good year finishing 9th, but De Zerbi has completely changed the expectations on that club. Like, he has raised the ceiling for them massively. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because people don't pay enough attention, maybe it's because they don't watch their games. People are judging him based on last season rather than based on the club he's managing, and also ignoring all of the injuries, the departures, and the fact that they had Europe for the first time ever this year, which is not a thing that Brighton normally do. I think he's done a great job there. I wouldn't be against him as the next Liverpool manager at all. I think he plays a great brand of football. I think if you gave him our players, I think he could do something really special. Like, as I've said before, put Alisson, Konate and Van Dijk into that team over, say, Steele, Van Hecke and Dunk, who've been playing regularly. They're a top 4 team, in my opinion. And put those 3 Brighton players into our team, and I don't think we're a top 4 team. Like, that's the difference. It's individual quality. His football is a bit imbalanced, but great players can make up for that imbalance. We're a bit imbalanced as well, but we've got great defensive players and a great goalkeeper who's obviously not available at the moment, but we've got a really good backup as well. I think if you give him better players, I think his football absolutely translates to a club like ours. And the other thing that he has that I don't like is he's got a bit of an obsession or a fetish for dross. He wouldn't have that at Liverpool because there is no dross at the club. So he'd have to avoid, there's no James Milner or Lallana or Jason Steele to lean into at Liverpool.
That's an interesting take. I have to say that's an interesting take. And Karl, can I just get yours very briefly on the potential for De Zerbi as Liverpool manager? Because that's going to be one of the main questions that people will have in their head around this game and this fixture and this particular man.
Yeah, I mean, he's not my first choice, but I'm not horrendously against it. I've said before, I think the two things I'd be more concerned than anything else. One is that I think he's maybe the type of manager I would like to see have bigger players at his disposal than he has so far. Even when he was at Shakhtar, there's not really a massive player there. And I do sometimes think that some coaches are a little bit reluctant to let the very, very top quality players completely off the leash until they've experienced exactly what it is that they can do on a regular basis. I kind of hold that a little bit fear for him. And the other one is obviously just the from a defensive perspective. I do find his approach very, very open. His defensive work off the ball, let's say. I really like his build-up play from deep. We've spoken about this in depth quite a number of times, and how they're really happy to have possession until the opposition team makes the first move, and it can just go along the back or over and over again for 5 minutes if he needs to. I'm fine with that. It's the off-the-ball stuff. I don't think his transition work is as good as some other managers. But one, that could be down to the players that he's had to obviously work with. And two, he is younger as a coach. So he's had less time as a head coach than others. But we will see in time if that side of it improves.
Again, very interesting. Nice to get the take from both of you. The people who listen to the show will be expecting us to spend ages talking about David Coote here, and I understand why, because it was yet another spectacularly wretched example of competence from a PGMOL leading light. I think perhaps the most glaring statistic for anyone to have a look at is that it was 20 fouls by Liverpool to 6 by Brighton. And just, Dave, really quickly on this, and we're going to do the match quite quickly as well, but just really quickly on this with Coote, it takes quite a lot, I think, to elicit chance of cheat from around Anfield, and he had racked up that many shitty decisions in the early goings. That's exactly what he got. That was quite early when that happened, and he only proceeded to get, as far as I'm concerned, worse. Now, there were a couple of abysmal calls against Brighton as well, soft, one or two soft ones as well, but the preponderance of them, as we have grown accustomed to, went against Liverpool. Let's not go down the little narrow alleyway marked everyone hates Liverpool, because it serves no purpose at this point. It just seems to be a thing that we have to deal with. Do you have anything specific to say about Coote in the light of what I spoke to Lisa Marie on about on AIP, which was, are we getting to a stage, or is it absolutely ridiculous to think about during a live season where the club would be probably well within its rights to maybe elicit some support and go as a group and talk about the relative standards of what is being thrown out by PGMOL and then justified by King Howard in his lofty ivory tower?
I would imagine they would probably need to get some backing on that. Like they'd probably need to find a couple of other clubs that were willing to go to bat with them. Because if you do it by yourself, regardless of the legitimacy, if you do it by yourself, you're going to look like you're cribbing and crying.
Well, look at the half 12 thing, Dave. Jurgen.
That for certain is something we need to be addressing. And I've seen Guardiola today out having himself a big old cry because they are playing a Champions League game, I think, on a Tuesday night, and then they've got a half 12 kickoff afterwards.
Yeah, and
he's having a cry about that. And everybody's saying, well, he's right. He's right. Yeah. But when we did it, we were told to get on with it.
The delicious ice-cold taste of Dr. Pepper has a lasting effect on people. Lindsay from Sacramento said,
Pro tip, 40 degrees is the perfect temperature for an ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Why is 40 degrees the perfect temperature for Dr. Pepper? We brought in Sue from Duluth, Minnesota to tell us.
Oh, yeah, I know a thing or two about cold. Oh, that right there is the perfect kind of ice-cold for Dr. Pepper. I'd share that with my friend Nancy. She likes Dr. Pepper, too, you know. My coldest...
All right, that'll be all, Sue. Having a perfect temperature for your Dr. Pepper? It's a Pepper thing. Inspired by real fan posts.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Exactly, that's where I'm going with this, is that if you're the first man out, or if you happen to be Jurgen Klopp and therefore a media sort of centre of attention, you're going to be isolated. Now, like I say, the reason I brought that one up is because since then, everybody has seen the sense in what he was saying, and everybody has come to parse out that it wasn't just him having a cry about playing at half 12. There's fucking context there, and perhaps some sensible humans got it through their head that weren't entirely partisan. And now, of course, just like with all the other things, we've seen all the people who are saying to suck it up with the decisions one by one. Arteta, Big Ange, all the rest of them, one by one, coming around having their own little cries individually about the standard of officiating.
And none of them have been as badly done by as us, because it's proven by the numbers that VAR has made more wrong decisions against us this year than anyone else. We had that incredible moment at Spurs where that goal was ruled out. Like, nobody's come close to that level of incompetence. In terms of the half 12 as well, Pep is crying about it after a Tuesday night Champions League. Jurgen was complaining about after an international break when the players weren't getting back from all over the world until Thursday, and he's getting 1 day of training and then straight into a game, like less than 48 hours after the players have gotten off aeroplanes. Pep is complaining about his team having to do it when they'll fly back immediately after the game. I don't even know if it's an away game on the Tuesday night. So, like, the double standard there is incredible. That Guardiola is applauded for his complaints and Klopp is chastised for his. Just on David Coote, look, I understood the chance of cheat. I did, but the chance of cheat are wrong. David Coote is not a cheat. David Coote is just a really, really, really bad referee. A really bad referee, a spineless referee, who in that first half made at least 3, if not 4 decisions because the Brighton players told him to. Where there was the McAllister yellow card, he waved play on when McAllister challenged him. The Brighton players complained. He not only gave a free kick, he booked McAllister and gestured with his arm, which hadn't happened. Alexis had put his arm out, but he hadn't shoved him. There was the Moder corner, which clearly wasn't a corner. But Moder asked for the corner and was given the corner. He took a really unique approach to refereeing in that first half, where he allowed the Brighton players to decide what the outcome was, which I haven't seen before. So maybe he's a trailblazer, but if he is, we're blazing in the wrong trail. He's a really, really bad referee. And we know he's a really bad referee because we've seen him referee before. It's not just against us. He has refereed a lot of teams in this division badly. He's also the guy, of course, that historically missed that Pickford challenge on Van Dijk, which should have been a red card. He came out afterwards and apologised and said it should have been a red card, but he missed it at the time because he's just a bad referee. And we have too many bad referees in the league. And that has nothing to do with the fact that he eats his sandwiches with a knife and fork. He's just a really, really bad referee.
I really do want to get into all the various things that I'd like to say about David Coote. But what I would say is he is actually a perfect example of the two famous razors. You know that Occam's razor, where basically if there are two possible explanations, and in this case, incompetence, corruption, the explanation that requires the fewest assumptions is usually the correct one. That's Occam's razor, and he falls into that if you don't want to go down that route of saying, that there's something afoot, that he is indeed a cheat, and taking your lead on that. And then Hanlon's razor says never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. And again, has he got an agenda like all the rest of the PGMOL lads? Are they sitting up at night having a little sad wank talking about Liverpool and how they want to do them out of the league? Yeah, probably not. They're probably just shit. Of course, it's tempting to believe at times that there is some sort of coordination here, and I will not judge a solitary human listening to this who believes that to be the case. And I will not condescend to you, and I will not call you conspiracy theorist. I will say fair fucking play to you, and I understand exactly why you're saying what you're saying, but I do feel that there is a preponderance of evidence when you see how they handle the game on the whole, and many games on the whole, that they're just absolutely shit. And that is probably the saddest part about it. Karl, if we blitz through a lot of this first half, we got to start with your take on the concession of the goal, which was a far from perfect way to begin a game on about the 92nd mark where Danny Welbeck gets his goal. Now, I have a take on this, which I'm just going to throw out there. You can feel free to dismiss it out of hand, but it is that quick break down the left. Virgil kind of gets a foot to a cross and gets a foot in, and it breaks. And as the ball breaks, Welbeck hits what I think is pretty much a great half volley, speculative effort, snapshot, if you will, that I'm uninclined to start apportioning blame. However, I do see where it can be attributed. It's so early in the game, it feels a little bit harsh to do so. But then again, if you're going for the league, you need to be set up in every way possible, and you need to not make any errors at all. So it is a different bar that we're judging Liverpool by. Talk to me around the concession of the goal and any points you want to make about it. And I'm just going to bring Dave in for his take on it real quick before you and I blitz through the first half then.
First thing I would say is that Danny Welbeck probably hasn't hit a ball that well since about 2010. So a little bit sort of Phil Jagielka, Eric Edmond kind of situation where he does strike it and it finds top corner before Queeve, who's probably the most informed goalkeeper since, Peter Shilton's Pomp, has even got a chance to get a cross goal towards it. So some of the times you just have to acknowledge that there's a really good shot. It's the stuff that comes before the goal, which is almost always where you can improve. Very rarely is it actually the final shot itself. So that right side of ours where it comes down is a bit of a theme of the first half hour at least. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on. To be honest, I think it was the three players who were and or should have been tracking back, which really allowed the goal. So it was only Szoboszlai really in the end who got a foot in for the initial challenge. There was a couple of others who could have reacted a little bit better, a little bit quicker. But like you say, the actual strike, you can't really be, too complaining about it. As I said, they only had another 4 shots in the next 76 minutes. So from that basis, did we allow them the goal? Not really. Did we, should we have done better to prevent the actual shot going in? Again, no. So I kind of this one was just an annoyance more than something I was very, very irritated about, other than the fact that it was right from kickoff. And like you say, you should be a little bit better set up to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Dave, any different take from you on it?
No, I felt we were a little bit asleep, especially down that right-hand side of ours, their left-hand side. I thought Bradley had a really shaky defensive first half hour, and Quansah was having to deal with a lot, and the goal was was the start of that. But look, Welbeck, he hits it really, really well. And he's a very mediocre Premier League player and has been for most of his career. But I think that was his 4th Premier League goal of the season. The commentators wanted us to believe that he offers far more than just goals. But he got himself a really nice goal today.
I think that's fair. And Karl, if we talk about this first half, or at least a massive chunk of it, it is inevitable that we're going to talk at length about Alexis McAllister, who was being bigged up left, right and centre from every angle, both by fans on this channel and commentators on this channel who know their stuff, and by lads who don't know their stuff, by Sky Sports commentators, for example, as well as by everybody else. It's, I won't say a massive turnaround, but when an awful lot of eyebrows were being raised at the start of the season, they probably weren't expecting to see this. The guy was actually awesome today. At times, there was a moment in the second half where just his strength on the ball, his ability to roll someone to open up a bit of space or step into a bit of space and then play a through ball, the calmness of him in possession is absolutely outrageous. Now, Klopp himself was effusive in his praise about McAllister. So if you wouldn't mind, roll some of your McAllister appraisal in to this chunk, where we'll take it up, you and I, as far as our equaliser. After we go that goal down, there is what I thought was a fairly clear pullback on Darwin on 5 minutes. Now, Is it strong enough to warrant Darren's reaction? Probably not. But it is interesting that decision is being made with a cool head by the lads in VAR. But you get the impression that we're the other way around, maybe not quite so cool. On 8 minutes, Mo has a shot narrowly wide of the top corner in a right to left kind of movement. Very typical Mo Salah shot. On 11 minutes, some good possession by us. And we see McAllister hitting a shot from distance over the top. A gorgeous through ball by McAllister on 12 minutes, and Mo fluffs his lines, leads to a corner from which nothing accrues. On 13 minutes, McAllister picks up a yellow for barely touching Adingra. Now, to me, that was the first of the really egregious decisions by the referee today. Yes, there's contact, but there's not enough for it to warrant a yellow card. And it's as much an overreaction, if you want to say that, as Darwin's was. So let's have some consistency here. On 17 minutes, Mo volleys over the top from a pretty wonderful McAllister dinked through ball. I mean, the guy's running the show at this stage. It's a great chance, if we're being perfectly honest. Possibly favoured a right-footed connection, but with Mo, with that incredible wand of left foot, he should have done better, you'd imagine. On 18 minutes, Mo pokes one wide of the top corner. Brilliant approach play by Bradley, which was a feature all through the game. And he just drives at the opposition and eventually plays the ball square to Mo, who, like I say, just comes onto it, kind of pokes at it with his instep or the outside of his foot or something like that. And it goes narrowly wide of the top corner. And on 19 minutes, there is a yellow card for Gross. McAllister kicks his foot. And again, I think I'd be a little bit annoyed if I was getting that, but it'd probably be a red card if it was a Liverpool player who had done it. And a few corners in a short space of time. And on 26 minutes, we have those. And then on 27, we go level. It is Luis Diaz. Mo wins a great header after some play after that corner. He has no right to win it, really. And Veltman's the first person to make connection with that Mo ball headed towards their goal. All he managed to do is help it further towards their goal. And Luis Diaz is perfectly positioned to pounce with a lovely volleyed finish to the back of the net. And it's a great goal that they were having a good look at on VAR, but of course, because it's Veltman with the ball back, they had no choice but to give it. Talk to me about that chunk of the game, which was entirely dominated by Liverpool.
Yeah, it was, and I think that it was a pretty good response first and foremost to falling behind. It was, if we hadn't have conceded a goal, I think we would have seen the exact same thing. Maybe the concession made us up the intensity a little bit, but they were pretty good with their playing out from defence past our press. They were quite good at switching play from wherever it was on the pitch over to their left side. But most of all, I was just very pleased, really, with the overall response. Like, we played the way we should do anyway. It was some quite good interplay on the edge of the penalty box. There was a little bit of rotation between midfield and forward lines, especially. Bradley was getting into some really good positions after, I'd say, maybe sort of 10, 12 minutes. I sort of didn't really push on too much at first. And obviously the theme of the first half, I think you have probably said there without saying, but just by repetition, Mo Salah. So I think I haven't been online in terms of social media since the game. I suspect that there's been a wild debate raging over whether he had a good game or a bad game, because I think a lot of this today is going to depend on your perspective of whether you think a good game is continual involvement and impact, or whether you think a good game is end product. There were a lot of chances for Salah to do stuff today, whether that is score himself or tee up other people. I think the one that you mentioned where he sort of half volleyed over the bar left-footed, the easier thing to do was actually to roll that across the 6-yard box. And I think it was Darwin coming in at that point. There was one or two similar ones later on. A few of the shots were extremely tame. A couple of them were maybe poorly timed or decision-making. But if you're a forward who takes as many shots as he does, there's a reason for that. And that's because some of the time when you go for not quite the easiest decision, you score goals because you surprise the opposition goalkeeper in defence because of that, and because you have the technical quality to do so. So I think first half was largely as expected in terms of the flow of the game, the speed of the game, and the threat that they posed. The, shall we say, less expected factors, aside from questionable whistleblowing was very much the finishing touch from ours. And like you said, McAllister, who was just off the charts good. He has been for a while, to be honest. And with the international break, I suppose not the concern, but the possibility is always there that people who are in really good form kind of lose that edge, that rhythm that they had previously. But there's not the remotest case with him or with Endo, to be honest, beside him. I thought he was really good again today. But McAllister, the form that he's in at the minute, and probably for the last 2 months or whatever since he came back from the injury last time, is probably as good as most midfield stuff we've seen since Alonso left the club in terms of intelligence and technical ability.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. He's just a pleasure to watch at the moment. There's no two ways about it. And Dave, if I can get back to you for the remainder of this first half, it was notable. I think Karl's right. Where Brighton were excellent was with their bravery in playing around our press, because I thought our press was kind of consistent and very, very decent until perhaps towards the end of the game, but we'll get to that. And, you know, they do have that ability to bravely play through it. And more to the point, bravery is nothing if you don't have the skill. They have the players who can execute that. But any flurry they made past the halfway line seemed to get the Sky commentators of Carragher and whoever the other numpty was into absolute wild hysterics. They were really delighted when Brighton managed to get a shot on target that shouldn't have been even taken because there was a clear offside in the build-up. Again, it's one of those really annoying rules that is sort of haunts the game at the moment, in terms of we all know what's going to happen. We all know the lad's offside. The game plays on. Someone's going to get injured, or someone's going to have a bad result on the back of this stupid late flag rule. But anyway, what it did was it excited Cara and Pal no end. But we didn't give them anything more to work with on 31 minutes. Mo has a really weak sauce effort after he's played in beautifully by Dom Szoboszlai. I mean, he's central. He should do so much better with it, but it's the most tokenistic effort you've ever seen. McAllister had done well in the build-up to get the ball to Dom. His through ball, excellent. Mo shot awful, just to echo the theme that Karl was bringing up. On 32, some great work and a good driving run by Bradley leads to a Luis Diaz snapshot, which is a damn sight better than Mo's previous one, which was saved. Another great run by Bradley on 34. But the lads were focusing more on what you had said earlier on, that he was actually perhaps struggling a little bit with the defensive part of the game more than anyone else in our team in the opening half hour or so. That's all they immediately after the great run, they were talking about, yeah, but he's not doing the very, very well defensively. It's very interesting. The bias is quite clear. Moder has an attempt on 34 minutes, which leads to a corner. On 36 minutes, there's an improvised Darwin effort while he's on the deck after more great work by Bradley in the lead up to that. It's just really cool, cheeky little effort as he's lying. He flicks a leg at it, and it really, they're blessed. It hits the keeper's leg, and I don't think he knows a damn thing about it, Dave. And it could easily have been a nice improvised lead there before halftime. On 37 minutes, more Bradley. This time he's involved with the effort, shooting off target after a great through ball by Mo Salah. And the last thing of note, really, in that first half was a McAllister ball, and that's kind of fitting on about the 38, 39 minute mark, where he just hits this lofted ball from deep in our half, or from the base of the centre circle at least, over the top to Mo Salah. It's just outrageous, the vision this guy has. He's got everything. Talk to me a little bit about the first half, anything you want to say about it.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Join us today during the Jeep Celebration event for great deals on Jeep brand SUVs. Right now, well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 for $429 a month for 39 months with $3,759 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. No security deposit required. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Stellantis Financial. Extra charge for miles over 32,500. Not all customers will qualify. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 4/1. Jeep is a registered trademark.